So sometimes success isn't about doing something extraordinary or achieving the impossible. It's not about giant leaps or momentous accomplishments. More often than not, success is about simply holding on when others would have let go. It's about pushing through the ordinary, the mundane, and the difficult when there's no applause, no spotlight, no cheering crowd things. It's about refusing to give in to the temptation to quit. One quote that has stayed with me over the years is by Thomas Edison. He once said, "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." This simple idea carries tremendous weight. It reminds us that the finish line often lies just beyond the moment of despair, the point where many turn around and walk away. It's a sobering thought. Realizing how close we may be when we stop believing it's worth it. Success, in many ways, is a vision. It's the ability to see what others can't, to believe in what others doubt, and to bring the intangible to life. Those daydreams, those mental images that seem far away or impossible, they're the beginning of something real. The journey to success is a process of daily growth, of evolving piece by piece. Some days, progress feels huge. You win, you shine, you soar. And other days, it's so small you wonder if you're moving at all. There are even moments when life knocks you down so hard, you start to question everything. You feel invisible, unnoticed things, or even like a failure because no one clapped when you gave your all. But that's the nature of progress. It's not about constant validation. It's a personal journey that moves forward when you do and stops the moment you give in. As the Dalai Lama once said, the only way to fail is to quit. Period. People don't stop chasing their dreams because they can't succeed. They stop because they convince themselves they can't. They look at the mountain ahead and forget that it's made of tiny stones. They get overwhelmed by the distance to the finish line. Overlooking the fact that even the longest path is walked one step at a time. You don't have to sprint or leap. You just have to continue. I've been there. I've stumbled. Poured my heart into things that no one noticed, invested in dreams that crumbled, and endured disappointment after disappointment. Each time, it felt like the world was ending. I've been lost, confused, and crushed. But the one thing I never stopped doing, the one thing that kept me moving, was showing up again. No matter how high life lifted me or how low it dragged me. I always made the same plan: get up and try again. This morning, as I sat with a pen and a blank page, I asked myself, what's the one thing I wish someone had told me when I was starting? The answer was clear: keep going. Keep walking one step at a time. One day, the fog will lift. The world will start to make sense, and you'll look back with pride. Not because it was easy, but because you didn't quit when it was hard. When the world said stop, you kept moving. When everyone doubted, you believed. There is nothing more powerful than a soul that refuses to back down. Life isn't about just surviving. It's about finding meaning. It's about seeing not what can be lost, but what can be gained. Even when all seems dark, seek the light. Even if it's just a flicker, even if it's just a spark, hold on to it. Every loss toughens your skin. Every heartbreak deepens your soul. Every fear teaches you how to be just a little bit braver. And every step forward, even the smallest ones, add up. In your weakest moments, when doubt and pain creep in, remember this: you are not broken. You are being refined. The world isn't ending. It's shaping you for something greater. So when the pressure builds, when your patience thins and your motivation wavers, resist the urge to shrink. Rise above that voice in your head telling you to quit. Let your experiences, both the beautiful and the brutal, lift you. They are not weights, they are wings. If you still have time, and there's still time to change your story. If tomorrow exists, then so does hope today. The have-to-bes of life are often invisible cages, and what's wild is that we built most of them ourselves. We hold up the very limitations that hold us back. Ask yourself this one question as the sun rises and your coffee brews: am I living today as a duty or as a dream? Is this life just a continuation of yesterday? Or a deliberate move toward a future that excites me? These are not trivial questions. I've lived both kinds of lives. I've drifted along like a jellyfish, wishing for flat tires to avoid responsibilities, thinking that meant freedom. But drifting is not living. Floating with the tide is not fulfillment. Life demands something more. It demands that we wake up and take the wheel, that we stop watching from the sidelines and start steering our own journey. Too often we act out routines and follow patterns. Not because they're right, but because they're familiar. We live lives built around expectations, ours, others, societies, but rarely stop to ask why. Sometimes all it takes is someone asking why to open your eyes. Why is that your income? Why that routine? Why that relationship? These questions shine a light into the corners of your life. They uncover truths we try to ignore and expose the real reasons behind our stagnation, because the truth is we get what we accept. So ask yourself which mountain is worth climbing. Which risk is worth taking? Don't just float. Take control. Don't wait for permission. Decide for yourself, because you are not stuck. You're just not moving yet. Here are a few truths to carry with you. 1, you are bound by nothing. The walls around you are often illusions. You can start again, walk away, build anew. You can revive the dream you buried. Not making a move is still a choice, and someday you might wish you chose differently. 2, today's struggle builds tomorrow's freedom. It's easier to complain, easier to sit still. But you weren't born to be comfortable. You were born to become. You were made for the deep end. The path you want is waiting in that chaos, in that uncertainty, in that risk. Go find it. 3 things. What's simple isn't always easy. Becoming the best version of yourself is a simple idea, but the journey demands everything. Walking is simple, but climbing a mountain. Things, that's a whole different challenge. Same action, new context. That's where growth lives. 4, make mistakes on purpose, because it's not the mistakes you fear, it's what they represent. Things, but every stumble is a step. You want to grow. Throw yourself into the mess. Let discomfort teach you. Let failure mold you. Mistakes aren't setbacks, they're blueprints. 5, trust yourself. Things, even when the world doesn't, especially when nothing is working, when every effort feels wasted, keep swinging, because every swing chisels your potential from stone. It's not about one lucky break. Things, it's about the discipline to keep showing up. And finally, celebrate every victory, no matter how small. That space between where you started and where you stand now, that's earned. Honor it. Things, let it remind you of who you've become and what's still possible. And then raise the bar. Begin again. Always. Because this is the process. This is the journey. Things, it's not supposed to be easy. If it were, it wouldn't be worth it. But it is simple. And if you're brave enough to keep walking, things, the world will one day look back and call your persistence what it really was, greatness. The other morning, I woke up with a plan in mind. Just 3 things. Simple objectives that I wrote down on my whiteboard, like I often do, to give my day direction and purpose. These weren't earth-shattering tasks, just meaningful enough to feel like progress. But life, as it so often does, had other plans. One by one, the hours slipped by. Curveballs came flying in from all directions, some unavoidable. Things, others the result of clumsy choices I made in the moment. Before I knew it, the morning was gone. Then the afternoon faded into the evening. And there I was, drained and staring up at a whiteboard still displaying 3 untouched goals, like silent reminders of what I hadn't done. That feeling, the frustration of unmet expectations, really hits hard. Things. When you clearly define what you want to accomplish and come up short, it doesn't feel like a small thing, it feels like a personal failure. Later that night, after dinner, things, I found myself venting to someone on the phone. I talked about the day, the missed opportunities, the way everything just unraveled. Without even realizing it, I was reaching out for reassurance. Things, and I got it. On the other end of the call came a voice that said, Eddie, this happens. It's not the end of the world. No one gets it right all the time. You're hard on yourself. Things, and that's okay. But tomorrow is another chance. And in that moment, something inside me softened. I let out a deep breath I didn't know I'd been holding. It was time to rest, time to reset. And the following morning, I went outside with my coffee and sat quietly, just thinking. The sky was clear, the air felt new, and as I reflected, I stumbled into a realization. One I've had before, but that needed revisiting. Life is like a staircase. Each step forward represents growth, the result of throwing ourselves into uncomfortable situations and emerging stronger. When we willingly walk into the chaos, we're forced to grow. We stretch, we evolve, and we rise. Shoes we once thought too big to fill eventually become just the right size. Things, the challenges that once felt insurmountable become part of our daily routine. That's the beauty of progress. It transforms the extraordinary into the ordinary. Things, with each new level comes a new challenge. The top of the last staircase becomes the bottom of the next. And that's the part we often forget. Growth doesn't pause. It demands more. Things, it invites us again to step into fear, into discomfort, so that we can tame something new. Sitting there that morning, I realized I was on the edge of that next big step. I felt it deep in my gut. Things, I was standing at the intersection of 2 powerful forces, the desire to add value to the world and the need to continue growing personally. Where those 2 roads meet, things, that's where life is lived at its fullest. That's where purpose and meaning thrive, somehow through the words I've shared. These thoughts, these speeches, things, these messages. I've been lucky enough to connect with hundreds of thousands of people. That's humbling beyond words. It's not something I take for granted. Things, and it's certainly not meant as bragging. It's overwhelming in the best way. It makes me emotional to think that a thought I could reach someone who needs it. Things, my dream has always been to offer perspective, to give people a way to see their struggles a little differently, to find a sliver of light where once there was only darkness. Things. And as I give that to others, I'm growing too. That's the journey, stepping up, evolving, becoming stronger with every challenge faced. That morning, staring down that next step, I felt both excited and terrified because I knew this next chapter required more of me than ever before. Not just effort, transformation. I would need to become someone new. Things, and that meant letting go of old parts of myself. Parts that had served me well up until now, but were no longer enough. Evolution demands sacrifice. Things, I had been taking steady steps for years, and I'm grateful for every one of them, but this was different. This time, it wasn't a step, it was a leap. One that required courage I hadn't yet summoned. Which brings me back to that whiteboard. See, I always come full circle. The bad day wasn't about the missed goals. Things, everyone drops the ball sometimes. That's just life. It wasn't about the list, but about how I responded to falling short. Who was I in those moments of failure? What kind of person do I want to be when life doesn't go my way? Those are the real questions. Before I can lead or inspire others, I have to be able to lead myself. That starts with honesty. Things with vulnerability. Look in the mirror and face my own imperfections head on. I realized that I could no longer rely on outside reassurance to keep me going. Not from family, not from my partner. Things, not from friends. The next phase of my journey would require me to be my own anchor, to find strength in the quietest parts of myself. If I want to make a real impact, to build something lasting. Things, it has to start within. That's what growth demands. It's not just about dreaming, it's about becoming, removing that mental line that separates who you are from who you admire. Things, stepping into that space and filling it with belief. You'll never be more than what you allow yourself to imagine. So even those closest to you, the ones who love you most, can't give you that. It's something you have to find inside, in that deep place where resolve lives. Things, that place where no matter what happens, no matter how hard the road gets, you still whisper to yourself, I'm not done yet. I saw clearly that telling people my struggles just to get sympathy was the opposite of what I needed. What's required of me now is courage, unshakable strength. Things. I have to pull from the depths of who I am and bring that power to the surface until it becomes part of me. Not something I hope to find, but something I know I carry. And as I sat there, things, taking it all in, I felt it change. Real, undeniable change. The kind that doesn't wait for permission. The kind that says, this is the moment. A new chapter was opening before me. Things. And this time I was ready, and it would come directly from how I viewed myself. It would be a reflection of the person I believed I was. Now, the most important question I want to ask you is this. Things. Are you standing at the edge of your next step? Are you staring across a gap that must be crossed, where every small decision, every ounce of courage, discipline, things, and strength you've built up has led you to this exact point? Is it signaling to you that something greater lies ahead? Is it time to dig deeper and become more than you've ever been before? My story, by the way, isn't about bottling things up or shutting others out. Asking for help when needed is one of the most courageous things we can do. The people we keep close are a mirror of who we are. For me, it was about being someone who trusts themselves to weather life's storms. It was about stepping with conviction, from thinking about becoming to simply being. That whiteboard, that phone call, they were just turning points. Maybe my story resonates perfectly with you. Maybe you're thinking, that's exactly what I needed to hear. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe your journey is at a different stage, newer, less traveled. Things, maybe it's about having the bravery to take that very first step, to allow yourself to be the learner, and that's perfect too. Because whatever your path, as you face that next step, what truly matters is knowing deep down that you already have what it takes. It's not something beyond you, it is you. Someone once told me the world won't believe in you until you do. Things. So believe in yourself like your dreams depend on it, because they do. Everything about your future is just imagination until you bring it to life. Things. Look around at your current situation. It's the result of what you've allowed. And at any time, you can raise the stakes, climb higher, reach a new level. You have the power to do that. Things. All it takes is permitting yourself to become that person. And yes, it will be hard. It will hurt sometimes. But let's allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Things. Let's show the world what's possible when we act like we belong, when we stop waiting for destiny and start writing it one bold step at a time. Can a single day change your life? So what if today were that day where you take action, where you make a promise to yourself to do just one thing, no matter how small? What if today action is king? Things. And no matter the result, whether it's what you hoped for or not, you've moved. You've stepped beyond where you were. What if we live by the belief that while vision can inspire us, things, without action, it's powerless? Today, let's take that first small step. Things. It's easy to forget how good progress feels, how empowering it is to know you're moving towards something you care about, that you're building something by choice and with courage. Progress gives us joy. We're wired to explore the unknown and shape it into something we own. We're not just flesh and bone. We are explorers with the ability to envision what doesn't yet exist. Things. And with courage, we can make it real. That's why when we stop seeing possibility, when we convince ourselves that average is enough, we feel something missing. We crave that next breakthrough. So today, just find one door you can open. Think about the ripple effect, how a single act of inspiration can transform your reality. Momentum is powerful. Things. Skipping the snooze button might lead to seeing the sunrise, which might lead to reading a few pages, which might lift your day, which might lead to that important phone call. And suddenly, things, you've set a dozen wheels in motion, not because you did it all, but because you did something. Today could be the day everything changes, and you don't need a miracle. Just push back against your everyday routine. Create little pockets of discomfort you can tame and stack one by one. Let that nervous energy in your gut remind you you're on the right track. Most choices are reversible, but making a choice puts you on a path. It moves you, shows you things you've never seen. The only wrong move is no move. Things. Some people go through life never chasing meaning, never pursuing what they want, because they thought they needed a massive shift, but all they really needed was one decision. Things. One move to prove that even wrong choices aren't fatal, they're just detours. They help you chart a new path, and then another and another. things. You can start changing your life today by simply picking your arena and stepping into it. You don't need to be the best or the smartest. That's for another day. Today, just step through the door. Things. You'll be amazed at what follows. Why is your greatest opponent you? In a world full of complex obstacles, why is the hardest battle internal? Things, because all those external hurdles can't tell you. No, they can't make you stop. Only you can do that. The world may build the terrain, but you choose where to stop. Things, you choose how far you go. You decide how much you'll endure. It's in your hands. I was recently reading Will Smith's book, and one idea hit me: resilience. Things. He spoke about his childhood and the contradictions of his father, a provider, yet a source of deep pain. In one story, his father hit his mother so hard she fell to the floor. When she stood back up, she said, "You can hit me, but you can't hurt me." That's when Will, even as a child, understood the world can act upon you, but you decide how to respond. That's true power. Things. Because everything life throws at you comes with an unspoken question. What does this mean? Only you can answer. Your answer decides whether this will hold you back or push you forward. Whether it confirms your fears or gives you reason to rise. Each challenge is a chance, not a curse, but an invitation. For me, running used to be the lesson. Now, things, it's interval training, but the message stays the same. It's a chance to prove I don't negotiate with weakness. That voice in my head doesn't get a vote. I've already made the decision. Things. I know discomfort is common, but I've accepted it. I don't need to think anymore. In today's workout, deadlifts, burpees, squats, core, I don't overthink, I move. It's the moment I see the next task, I say yes. I go before my mind can intervene. That's the breakthrough, separating the task from the pain. When you stop trying to talk yourself out of things, nothing can hold you back. The real enemy isn't pain or the unknown. Those are normal. The real adversary is the voice that says, maybe slow down. Things, maybe give up. But if you can learn to separate the challenge from the discomfort, you become unstoppable. I'm not saying never use your mind. Thinking is essential. But there's a time to silence it, a time when all that matters is the next step, one more mile, one more set in a story, no emotion, no second guessing, just action, just momentum. Things, you already thought it through. You've already stepped into the arena. Now it's time to fight. It hurts, yes, but you chose this. You accepted the hard path. You knew it had value. And now you're here in the thick of it, eyes forward, roars behind you. Keep moving. Strip your world down to this action toward your goal again and again. And when adversity shows up, things, meet it with one more step forward. No strategy needed, just discipline. One more rep, one more try. You don't need a crowd. You don't need everything to be perfect. Things, just show up and swing the axe again. Because that focus, that determination is what leads you to victory. The road to now wasn't smooth. You thought you had it figured out. Things only to be proven wrong. Plans changed. Life happened. And you questioned everything, your beliefs, your purpose. That's part of living. You felt the sting of failure, the ache of regret. Things. It's easy to get lost in the past, letting it define your present, letting yesterday write your story. But you don't have to stay there. Today, I've come to understand something that changes the way we live, love, and experience this world. If we truly want to embrace the beauty life has to offer, the connection, the growth, things, the wonder, then we must first allow ourselves to be vulnerable in ways we've likely avoided. Vulnerability means stepping into the unknown, opening our hearts even when we know we could get hurt. Things. It means choosing the uncertain path, not because it's easy or safe, but because it's meaningful. We often avoid the unknown. We skip the pain. We sidestep the risk. But in doing so, we also miss out on what makes life extraordinary. Yes, it would be so easy to let the pain of our past become our excuse, that heartbreak, that failure, things, that loss. We could let it build walls around us. We could choose to shut down and hide away, and no one would blame us. On the surface, that might even seem wise. Things. But there's another way to look at it. That same pain, instead of being the reason we close off, could be the very fuel that empowers us to open up again. Things. It could be the thing that sharpens our clarity, expands our courage, and pushes us to truly live. After everything you faced, after all the moments you thought would break you, things, you are still here, standing, breathing, capable, and ahead of you lies an open canvas of possibility. You now hold a worldview forged through storms, a strength born not in comfort, but in hardship. Things, it wasn't handed to you, it was earned. And now, with that armor of wisdom and experience, you're ready to step into the next challenge, the next chapter. You've already proven your resilience. Things, you've already stared down adversity and kept moving. And that matters. That changes everything. We often forget just how far we've come, how much we've grown. Because strength doesn't scream, it whispers. It hides behind our daily routines. It's only when we look back that we realize just how high we've climbed. The obstacles today seem bigger, not because life is harder, but because you're stronger. You've evolved, you're standing in a bigger arena now. The things you once feared no longer control you. Vulnerability, real, open-hearted vulnerability has been the flame that reignited your soul. So will you choose to step out again? Will you see that openness not as weakness, but as a reflection of your strength? To love again is to accept the chance of being hurt. To chase a dream is to admit you might fail. To aim higher than you've ever dared is to risk humility. Things. But all of this is what it means to live. You give a piece of yourself because the return is worth it. You walk into the unknown, not because you're certain of the outcome. Because you believe in what might be on the other side. That racing heartbeat, those doubts, that fear, they're not signs you're broken. They're signs you're expanding, growing. It's investing in a future you haven't seen yet, but that you deeply believe in. You are not your past. You are the wisdom it gave you. The strength is built in you. The courage that was carved out of those sleepless nights and lonely battles. So now don't shrink away. Don't step back. Step forward. Tell the universe you're ready for more. That you have the strength to dance again with the unknown, to trade discomfort in the present for a chance at something breathtaking in the future. Because one day, you'll look back and realize it wasn't about avoiding pain, it was about rising from it. It wasn't about staying safe, it was about becoming. That's why you must love again, try again, build again, hope again, and feel again. Because all the reasons not to, those fears and doubts are not the end, they are the beginning. Beneath every fear is a spark. A seed of something waiting to grow. It's never going to feel perfect. The timing will always be slightly off. But the question remains, can you choose to be that vulnerable, that brave? Not just when everything is going well, but especially when it's not, when the chaos swirls, when your mind is heavy, when doubt is loud, can you still choose to move forward? Can you choose to let the pain of your past be your reason to rise, not your reason to retreat? Will you let your past define your limits or your strength? Will you give away a little piece of your comfort now to grow into the person you've always known you could be? It's in those moments when we are cornered, uncertain, up against the wall that we find out who we truly are. When the clock ticks, we dig deeper. In the darkness, we search for light. While lost, we come home to ourselves. That's the paradox of life. That our deepest pain can reveal our highest purpose. That through struggle we evolve. And from brokenness, we often find our greatest strength. I think back to 2014, wandering the streets of Boston. Having just quit my job. All I had was a dream, a microphone, and a tiny YouTube channel called Will Your World With Thing. I didn't know what I was doing. I did not know audio, video, media, nothing about business, nothing about growth. I was scared. But that's where it started. I didn't realize then that the key to it all wasn't knowledge, it was courage. That fear wasn't a wall, it was a signal. I didn't know that failure would become my best teacher. When you play it safe, life stays small. But when you risk, when you reach you begin to see what's possible. You fail big, you learn fast, you grow deep. I learned that the short-term hurt is often the doorway to long-term fulfillment. That no matter how hard it gets, the only way through is forward, and yes, the pain is real. But so is the breakthrough, so is the transformation. Fear became my compass, discomfort became my training ground, and failure. Failure became my companion on the road to success. It taught me to stop running from the hard things, to welcome them, because that's where change lives, that's where new doors open. So maybe your path isn't mine. Maybe it's not videos or podcasts. Maybe it's writing, painting, building, teaching, helping, or healing. Whatever it is, it matters. And if your heart is pulling you toward it, then you must listen. Yes, there will be times when you question everything, when you feel like giving up. But those are the very moments that define you. The question is, will you let the emotion stop you or push you forward? That's the decision. That's the line in the sand. That's your moment.